Andy is making me laugh. But anywho, she's all ready to rock and roll. So here we go. Set on grams. I'm sure you know this part. Make it 0. And now this is double the recipe. So I'm making 2 loaves. So this will be 200 grams of this. I don't exactly worry about it being right on the money, so a little over is fine. I just try not to be under. Make that 0, and now we're going, since it's double recipe, this will be 700 grams of water. Okay, again, spring water, and then obviously it's a little bit over, but whatever, so is the other. Then you're gonna take this off, and then this gets all mixed in, all bubbly, and then we'll come back with the flour to be put in. It's all nice and foamy. 0 your scale out. And now this is, again, double, so 1,000 grams of flour. And then I'll also do, which I won't show this part because you already know, 20 grams of salt. And I just use salt. So 1,000 grams of bread flour, using this, cheapest at Costco or Sam's, and then salt, and then I'll come back to the mixing. So I just kind of get all that kind of put in here a little bit, and then I just kind of start working it in. Eventually I'll have to go with a bench scraper and get all the edges and get it really mixed in, because this, as you know, takes a minute. So now we're just gonna mix it all together. And once that's done, it's gonna sit for an hour before we start stretch and folds. So get this mixed in. Still mixing. Takes a little time to get it all in. Pretty soon here, I'm gonna switch to this other. And then switch to the bench scraper, so it makes it easier, or you can use your hands. And try to scrape down all the sides, and then kind of work it from the bottom where it's really dry. It eventually all incorporates through stretch and folds, but try to really work this part and kind of get some gluten and strength built up while I'm doing this part. That's all. Okay, now that it's all mixed in, kind of used this to really scrape the bottoms. This is gonna sit for about an hour. You can do 30 minutes, kind of the auto laze time to let it kind of like get working and going. I use this warming mat because it speeds up this whole process of once I get to bulk fermentation. This is gonna sit for an hour with a wet, non-lint tea towel over it. And then I keep it on, this one I'll turn off temporarily because I don't keep it heated. It's already still a little warm from warming up, getting this kind of going this morning. So I'm gonna leave this sit for an hour, and then we'll come back and I'm gonna do 4 rounds every 30 minutes. So I hate to say it's 2 hours of stretch and fold. I know you probably know that, I'll just show it once, but this is gonna sit for an hour and then we'll come back and do stretch and folds. Okay, first stretch and fold, shaggy, you probably know this. I just kind of get it, wet your hands, it makes it easier. And then it's kind of, and then turn. I use this to scrape it away from the bowl so I don't like get all of it, you know what I mean? So I get it all. And just do quarter turns, pull up. You can also do coil folds if you do a lot, but this is just easier, it kind of, and then just pull it all the way. And now it will sit for 30 minutes. And with a wet towel, I keep it on here and come back and do another set of those, and again, 3 more times. Okay, this is the final stretch and fold I've already done. This is the 4th one. So I'm gonna hurry up and do this. You can see how smooth it is. And then it's gonna go on this warm because it'll bulk ferment for like depending on the heat. You don't have to put it on a warmer, it just speeds up the process if you wanted to. But I usually do it. It usually is anywhere from 3 to maybe 4 hours. If you don't use a heater, it could take longer depending on the temperature of your house. So there is that. You can also do coil folds like this and just lay it back down if you don't want to do the other way. So that's kind of that. So now I will turn this on. I usually keep it like 95 to 100, something like that. And then wet towel. And this, like I said, it'll take a few hours. I'll start checking it like 2.5, 3 hours. And I'm looking for like bubbles and jiggly, and I'll show you that. But it's gonna go on the warming mat to make sure it kind of keeps that process going a little quicker. And it will sit there now without being touched for the next couple hours or so. Okay, so this is after bulk fermentation. It was about almost 3 hours, not quite. So see how it's jiggly? You're looking for that. And then if you can see on here, you're looking for these bubbles all around it. There's little ones, there's big ones. There's no perfect timing here. It's even hard for me to judge sometimes, but these are kind of what you're looking for. It's a little like not super sticky. That's the other piece of it. So that's what you do there. So now you're gonna dump it. I use rice flour versus regular flour just because you don't want the extra gluten and everything in it to make it more tough. So that's what I do here. So it's just a matter of kind of getting it out, sort of let it fall out as much as you can. Because I use glass, I gotta kind of help it with the scraper, and it'll just kind of fall out onto the surface. Okay, get rid of this. Because this is 2 loaves instead of 1, I'm gonna just kind of divide it and just eyeball this part. And just get one of them out of the way. Come back to you. A lot of times I will do kind of a double shaping. I need a little extra. Hang on a minute. I need a little extra of this. So just kind of, you know, do the thing. So these, I'm going to do the double shaping. So I just kind of just do the tuck and pull, kind of break these up if you see them, the really big ones. So I'm going to do this to both of them, and I'm going to let these sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then I'm going to reshape again and do the fillings and the plain. So we'll come back after that. Okay, so basically that was just letting that rest. Now we're just going to do the same thing again, get it out there. And this is when you would put in the inclusions, however you want to. So I pretty much try to get this, try and get a bunch of cubed cheddar. Just kind of start sticking it. Kind of try to get her all, inclusions make it a little bit harder. And just kind of do the same shaping. Get it nice and tight, but don't let anything pop out. And then I use rice flour in the bannetons. I use lined ones just because I like it better and they don't stick. But make sure you use a good amount of rice flour or something in it. Turn it upside down. And now I'm going to try to like stitch these together, cover it up. This is where it gets a little more difficult with inclusions. Just kind of stitch it. He's just on the outside. Really get it kind of hooked together if you can. And basically, the other loaf is just not going to have inclusions, so just going to get her all rolled up nice and tight, stitched. And these go in the fridge. I like mine for 24 hours because that's the fermentation. You can do it less. It just isn't as sourdoughy and you don't get the benefits of the fermentation process. So I just use whatever plastic thing you're going to use, cover them up, and they go in tomorrow. I'll bake tomorrow afternoon with these, and I'll come back and do that process with you then. Okay, so oven at 500, it's preheating. This is the trivet that I use inside there, lid on, and this whole thing warms up in the oven at the same time. And then I leave that in the oven a good 15 to 30 minutes after it reaches 500 degrees to get the whole thing really hot. And then I'll work on putting the bread in. Okay, so this has been kind of sitting in there at 500 degrees for about 20, 25 minutes. I always do my non-inclusion plain loaves first because the stuff with cheese has a tendency to come up out of the pan. So I'm gonna do the plain one first. This is at 500 degrees. And this is gonna go in here for, you could put a couple of cubes of ice in the bottom if you want to. Sometimes I do, especially on the cheese. But this is gonna go in here for 500 degrees for 20 minutes. And then leave the lid on. I'm gonna drop the temperature to 450 for about 10 minutes. And then lid off until it's the dark that I want, which is usually anywhere from 5 to 10 to even 15 minutes to get it the crust that you want. The internal temperature needs to be 205 degrees minimum. Okay. And then this loaf, I like mine to have the ear to be a little bit crispy. And then you gotta get the rack, and then I just kind of it on. Now, when I do the cheese loaf, which is next, so this is going to go back in the oven to reheat up at 500. And the loaf with inclusions like cheese or something greasy like that, I add 5 minutes at the 500, the first 20 minutes. So I had 25 minutes at 500 and 15 minutes at 450. Then take the lid off until it gets to the crispy, crunchy level that you like. And that's that.